So President Trump says that he will pick an exceptional new head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics after he fired the former commissioner. The president disputed the jobs report that shows hiring slowing in July after fewer jobs created in May and June as well than the Bureau had originally reported.
If you remember, just before the election, this woman came out with these phenomenal numbers on Biden's economy. Phenomenal numbers. And then right after the election, they announced that those numbers were wrong. And that's what they did the other day. So it's a scam, in my opinion. My opinion is it's just additional scam.
As you could tell, Trump was fixated on this even before he came into office. I remember covering him on the campaign trail, and he was often railing against the job reports, particularly the revisions, and saying that it didn't seem right, okay? What really got under his skin with that Friday jobs report was not necessarily the slowing of the economy and the adding of less jobs than they had anticipated. It was the revisions of the previous months that they had celebrated, May and June, that actually the number of jobs added was lower than they had previously said.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here. And Trump saw a jobs report he didn't like. So he said, "You're fired." Then he ran to CNBC and lied through his teeth to justify it.
For the election, they put out numbers that it was like the country was on fire. It was doing so well. And then they did a revision about 2 weeks later, and the revision was down by almost 900,000 jobs. You remember that? And I said, man, I said, what would have happened? What would have happened if I lost? Think of it. I would have said they gave phony numbers and then they revised them a week and a half later.
All right, so that was wrong, and wrong.
He claimed the numbers were rigged, revised, weaponized against him. But CNBC wasn't having it. And John Berman fact-checked him live, line by line. Wrong, and wrong.
Just before the election, there was a terrible jobs report. Just 12,000 jobs added. That was November 1st, just days before the election. 12,000 jobs added November 1st, almost as bad as the 2 months we just had during the Trump administration, May and June. After the election, the numbers were revised upward. So that's the second wrong. President Trump was wrong that there was a good jobs report before the election, wrong that it was revised upward.
Trump doesn't fire people for lying. He fires them for telling the truth. And no matter how many loyalists he installs, you can't fire the facts, Donald. And this time, the people have had enough.
He's also wrong about the timing of the huge revision. It came last August, where they said that 800,000 fewer jobs had been added in the last year. It wasn't after the election. All of the revisions that were made in theory before the election last year may very well have been in Trump's favor. So wrong, and wrong.
Let's get this straight right now. Donald Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because the jobs report made him look bad. That's not leadership. That's a tantrum. You know what kind of lunatic fires someone for telling the truth? A tyrant. A weak, paranoid tyrant who's terrified of facts. And you know what else? An onion-eyed flapdragon, a leather-faced piss jar, a mangled apricot hellbeast, a knuckle-brained fart lozenge. That's who. But that's just some of the stuff people outside of the United States calls him, because they don't have to pretend that this clown is normal. Meanwhile, here in America, we're supposed to act like this is fine, like it's normal to fire someone because the data bruised your ego. Let me ask you something. When you take a government job, you take an oath. You sign up for ethics, duty, reality. Not to carry water for a cult leader who wants everyone to spend fantasy just to keep him from crying on national TV. There's no line in the contract that says, if the truth makes me look bad, lie harder. So what does Trump want now? Caroline Leavitt up there doing press releases about how he won the Indy 500, flew to the moon, filmed a Goya commercial, swam the English Channel, and cured COVID with a Sharpie. Is that the alternate timeline we're supposed to believe now? Because this isn't politics anymore. This is full-blown delusion. Trump's cognitive decline is obvious. He's straight up decrepit. And if you don't bow down to it, you get fired. Straight out of the Elon Musk playbook. Trump doesn't want public servants. He wants loyalist lapdogs, people who treat truth like treason and his feelings like sacred gospel.
Elaine Chao, who was a labor secretary for Bush and Trump term 1, says that's not how it works.
It is very, very difficult to tamper or to interfere with these numbers. The commissioner doesn't really get involved in preparing the numbers. He or she gets the numbers about Wednesday or the Friday before release.
We're not living in America anymore. We're stuck inside the twisted little snow globe of a sociopath who thinks he's king. Donald Trump is actively replacing truth with loyalty and firing people who tell the truth because it hurts his ego. It's a rehearsal for dictatorship. Donald Trump didn't fire a liar. He fired a woman whose job was to list the numbers. That's it. That was her job, report the numbers. And he didn't like that she told the truth. And the truth was, the numbers Trump's administration had been putting out, they were lies. They were inflated by as much as 280,000 jobs. He wanted people to believe we were gaining 295,000 jobs. But when the real data came out, it was 14,000. 14,000. Not booming, not historic, just weak. And every single month since then, dismal. Last month, 70,000 jobs, which might sound decent if it were just in one metro area. But across the entire country, that's pathetic. And now you watch what happens next. Donald Trump will just find another loyalist. Someone like Caroline Leavitt, another one of these Barbies they've always throw in front of the camera to say, oh, Donald Trump's economy added 2 billion jobs this month. 2 trillion. They'll say whatever it takes to keep him smiling like a drugged up game show host. That's not governance. That's delusion. That's propaganda. He's garbage, folks. Mentally, morally, totally garbage. So how did we get here and what just happened? Trump saw the revisions, big ones, and instead of trying to understand why the economy is slowing, he jumped straight to the same answers as he always has. Fire someone, blame Biden. He didn't listen to the White House officials trying to offer actual explanations. He didn't want facts because he never does. He wanted a scapegoat to blame like he always does. And the moment Sergio Gore reminded him that Erica McIntyre was a Biden appointee, boom, done, fired. That's all it took. No data, not performance, just party loyalty. This wasn't a decision based on any type of integrity. It was vengeance wrapped in a press release. And now he's stalling on the replacement, probably waiting for his inner circle to dig up another loyalist, someone who'll rig the numbers, wear the red hat, and say whatever the hell he wants on cue. Meanwhile, he's already teasing another big shakeup. Jerome Powell out, and a battle of the Kevins to run the Fed. Because why choose the best candidate when you can pick whoever flatters you the most? Trump said the jobs report before the election was great. It wasn't. It was one of the worst on record. He said it was later revised down. Wrong. It was revised up. He claimed the massive revision came after the election. Nope. It happened months earlier, and it actually helped him. Berman didn't just fact-check him. He dismantled him. He took Trump's version of events and ran it through the wood chipper of reality. Every claim Trump made was not just wrong, it was verifiably false. And the truth is, Trump knew it. He was betting that no one would call him out. And for once, the media didn't let it slide. Bottom line, he lied repeatedly. And Berman didn't flinch, just laid it out, beat by beat, exposing Trump as a desperate fraud, trying to gaslight the country with broken math and bold-faced liars to back it up. And if this all sounds familiar, it should. This is straight out of the Project 2025 playbook. Fire the civil servants, replace them with political loyalists, turn objective government agencies into propaganda machines, whether it's NOAA, the CDC, or BLS. The goal is the same. Dismantle truth, install control. What Trump just did with the jobs report is exactly what they plan to do across the entire federal government, because that's exactly the path that we are on. We are looking at a group of people that look at elderly people as basically a problem. You know, why are we having to spend all this bunch of money on these old people when we could be keeping it for ourselves? And here's what they're doing. You would think people would say, well, you know what? You're going to get old one day, and that's going to be you. Well, that's why they're doing this, because they're trying to funnel as much money as they can into their bank accounts so that when they get older, they're not going to need any help like that. They're going to be able to afford their health care. Look at Marge the Trainwreck Green. She had a net worth of $700,000, and that's a lot of damn money. But after that little stunt Donald Trump did with insider trading, she's now worth $22 million. You know, if you have $22 million, you're pretty good. You're not going to have to worry about your health care for the rest of your life because you can afford it. but don't be an asshole and cut it for the people that can't. And that's exactly what this administration is doing. They're being assholes and they're cutting things. They're cutting programs that people desperately need. And that's absolutely unacceptable. At the end of the day, this entire meltdown came down to one thing. Donald Trump fired someone for doing their job because the numbers hurt his feelings. His own people told him it wasn't the right move, but he didn't care. He doesn't care. He's a toddler in a suit, throwing tantrums anytime reality doesn't go his way. And while he's busy purging truth tellers and rewriting data to protect his ego, we're all just hoping he winds up with a big sloppy bowl of mashed potatoes dumped right on his head. Because if there's one thing he can't stand, it's being held accountable. We can't afford to treat this like just another Trump tantrum. This is a stress test for democracy, and whether we pass it depends on whether people fight back against the lies or just get used to them. And that's exactly what this moment demands. Truth, consequences, and accountability, whether he likes it or not. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.